Are those little stickies? Are those,
Yeah,
can you stick your phone to the wall?
Yeah, not this surface.
This is a wood. This is a weirdly wood grain surface.
It sticks stuff.
That is the weirdest thing I've ever seen. And I like it. It's just I couldn't stop thinking about it, so I had to ask about it to get it out of my wheel.
It comes in handy.
Right. Yeah.
40 seconds into the episode, and I've lost total control. Coming to you more alive than dead from the Beer to Whiskey Studios on the floor of the
Don't look at the camera.
of the tap room at the Greenville Beer Exchange on Lawrence Street in glorious downtown Greenville, South Carolina. I'm Russ Heaps, and welcome to this episode of Big John and Five, where I get my good buddy here on the other side of the dais, Big John Richards, to pick a beer from one of GBX's 20 taps or hundreds of bottles and cans in the retail store up front. We sniff them, we sip them, we kibitz about them. John tells us a little bit about the brewery. Sometimes he tells us a little beer history. And today, we have with us our special guest, Miss Sydney Foster, who is a bartender, one of my favorite Greenville spots, which is Sobeys on Main Street. And we've been coaxing her, trying to get her to one of these shoots for years. Years, it seems. And finally today,
Eons.
here she is.
I'm here.
So welcome, Sydney.
I'm honored to be here.
We're going to fix that.
Yep.
Oh, Lord.
John, what do we have happening?
We have. I'm sorry. I very briefly have to ask: are those little stickies? Are those, can you stick your phone to the wall?
Yeah, not this surface.
This is a wood. This is a weirdly wood grain surface.
It sticks stuff.
That is the weirdest thing I've ever seen. And I like it. It's just I couldn't stop thinking about it, so I had to ask about it to get it out of my wheel.
It comes in handy.
Right. Yeah.
40 seconds into the episode, and I've lost total control.
Sorry.
That's what happens.
It wasn't
That's
you,
what
it's
happens.
him.
I have that effect.
It's him.
I can't. So what we have is a Bottle Logic beer. So we just got finished doing a Trillium beer, which is one of these two. I bring Trillium up because these guys, Trillium, are among a handful of guys that are just big white whales in the beer industry that it's just impossible to get. You can't find them. We can't get them in distribution. They never came to South Carolina, and suddenly we're getting both of them in 2024, which is just bonkers. So getting these kinds of fun things from these breweries that are so sought after is, well, one of the reasons I work here. And one of the reasons that, I enjoy getting these things out here in front of us, because we can get to taste some of these things that they're not in our market. So, and then hopefully they're in your market and you get to taste them, or you can go in search of them like we always had to do. But South Carolina's last to get everything. So that's just the way it is. So this is fun. It's a beer they call Red Eye November, and it's a series that they do that each one of them is a different coffee blend from Mostra Coffee, which is out there in California where they're from. And so they collaborate with these guys on the coffee and the recipe and come up with these really fun beers. And these big, dark, barrel-aged beers are not far from the only thing that Bottle Logic does, but they're certainly the thing that they're probably most well known for. And they just have they have the touch. When it comes to these kinds of beers, they have the touch. And the very first Bottle Logic I ever had was a collaboration they did with 8 State, which when we went, 8 State did a collaboration with Bottle Logic? It was like, what in the world is going on here?
You are probably as amazed as I am that actually happened.
So when we started getting them, it's been a fun ride for the month or two that they've been in our market to try and find some of their new stuff and get to taste it all. So I'm excited to pass this along with you guys too. This is a neat fun. It's 14.7%, I think, or 17.7. I don't remember which one. I think it's 14.7. You gonna look up there and correct me?
Yeah, what, if I could read it,
It says
16 something, I think.
Oh, that says 15.3, which is not what I saw online. It's what I saw online said 0.7. So I may have been looking at a different beer. Except that they're, like I said, all these Red Eye November beers are a series, so I legitimately may have been looking at a different version of this beer than the one we have.
It's possible.
All the same deal, all the same Moster coffee, but different iterations of it every time. So this one's, I guess, 15.3. Because in doing my homework, I came up with the wrong number and maybe the wrong beer. So,
Well, it's it's the new math, and there's,
Right, yeah, it could be.
there's long division and stuff. and
right,
it's-
Boy
take
math.
it into that.
Boy math.
Boy math, is that a thing now?
Yes. There's girl math.
I don't
and
wanna
boy
know what
math.
that is.
You don't. It's a lot to explain. You don't want to.
wow,
There was a.
I'm willing to hear the explanation after we get a sip of beer. I will say that.
There was somebody at my bar at Harris Teeter only a few nights ago, maybe a week ago, and they said, "Oh, Big John, I need you to meet my daughter." I was like, "Okay, cool." And this young lady comes up, young teenager. She said something to me, and I just
Like,
started.
boy, are you old?
I just started laughing, and I said, "I'm too old to understand those words, but it's nice to meet you too." And her dad just started dying laughing. I was like, I have no idea what she said. It sounded like something that would have probably meant nice to meet you, but I just don't know what she said.
In
Teenage speak, I'm
Yeah.
too old to understand those
I
words.
wish I
So,
knew what she said.
right?
I could interpret it.
I wish I could repeat it, but I don't know that language yet.
We'll get you there.
Right. So that came up because of boy math and girl math.
Yep.
But speaking of which, let's taste this here beer.
Okay.
Texas and Miss Lily.
Cheers.
It noses like a big beer.
Oh, I already sipped. I'm so sorry.
No, it's okay.
There is no
no
right or
way to eat
wrong
Reese's.
way. Yes, there is. You gotta sniff
Delicious
it first.
though.
But we're gonna let her off the hook because she's a newbie.
It smells great.
Oh, by the way,
So that's neat. It's I'll confess I had this this past Saturday here, I think, and my first
Wow.
impression was, where's the coffee? Because there's tons of chocolate in here.
Yeah, very chocolate.
and
Tons of
there's
chocolate.
and it feels like maybe some cinnamon or, I mean, I'm getting a little.
I think so. There's a little bit of like some kind of baking spice in there, be it cinnamon, maybe nutmeg, and there's a lot of dark chocolate. And I guess I'm getting a little more of the roast now that I'm talking over it. I can taste some of that coffee roast now, but that initial first impression was just like, where is the coffee on this thing?
Very chocolatey.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very chocolate forward. Delicious though.
It's smooth. You cannot taste the alcohol on that. For that to be 15% is insane.
That is amazing that they can hide the alcohol
Right.
in that.
There is zero alcohol presence here.
Yep. And there's not even that dark fruit kind of thing
Right.
you get so often with these big barrel-aged stouts.
You're 100% right. There's so much, if you don't know, and maybe you don't know, there's so much that happens in fermentation, especially when you're brewing these big ale yeasts that can ferment up to 15.3, 16, 17% alcohol. They drop a bunch of like dates and figs and raisins and these big fermentation flavors in
Raisins are wrinkled. I don't
Right.
eat them.
I do not like raisins.
there. And in a lot of imperial stouts, it's welcome.
I
It's
feel
just best if we don't even
I
get
feel
on
we
the
have
rails.
something going on here.
Maybe.
Wow.
Maybe so.
So all of that to say,
In fact,
That-
and the fact like things are wrinkled makes me even more optimistic.
It's the taste of them.
Yeah,
I just don't.
I'm the same way. They did a Sun-Made raisins. Did an excellent advertising thing. Jeez, I bet you 40 years ago. And a guy by the name of Stan
Just
Friedman.
before your parents were born.
Yeah, a guy by the name of Stan
I'm
Friedman.
trying to do the math in my head.
Friedman was this big, great ad guy. And he was such a famous ad guy. He was on Johnny Carson and all that kind of stuff, The Tonight Show. But he came up with this thing about people weren't eating raisins because they were wrinkled. And the whole point was they're wrinkled. That's why I brought up the wrinkles.
They're not very appealing.
Yes.
Wrinkles are not.
I always thought that was just a brilliant ad campaign. What were we talking about?
Speaking of raisins,
What you were saying. Back to what you were saying.
now with that whole rabbit hole just started from us talking about how the fermentation flavors just aren't here. You know, there's just nothing really there. Right up front, I may be getting a little bit of figs or something, and there's a little oiliness, and that front end texture
I would say oiliness is a good description.
There's some right there. Excuse me, some right there. It's making my mouth water because it's just.
So
I
good?
want another sip of it.
Yeah, like,
It is
like a chocolate bar.
Right.
It is wonderful.
And I did not. Full disclosure, I did not expect to sit down here and create this much of a glowing review of this beer based on that sip I had Saturday. But the more I sip of this, the more I want of it.
Which is why you say you should never judge a beer until you've had an entire
That's
beer.
true, and I've
Okay. I'll remember.
it's really hard, even over 4 ounces, to really get a good sense, especially of something this big. So I've been saying for years, I just refuse to pass judgment on a beer till I've had a full pour of it.
Yeah.
So, and it just changes. You know, as it warms up, it's going to change.
Oh yeah, this is going
As
to
you
get
taste
better.
it and get used to
This
it,
is going to get better as it gets
it's going to
warmer.
change. I'll say this while we're on the subject too, before we sign off and see if I can cross the 10-minute mark for Russ. And that's when you're tasting almost anything liquid, always take a second sip. The first sip is just there to let your palate get used to what it is. The second sip lets you taste it. So don't ever, when you pick something up and you taste it, the first sip is not going to make sense. It doesn't matter what it is. The first sip is going to just be resetting your palate to be ready to taste what you're about to taste. So take a sip, then wait, take a breath, then take another sip, and then see how you feel about what you've tasted.
Okay.
It's very important, especially if you're tasting things in a row, like if you're on a flight. That first sip is not going to register. You've got to get to that second sip.
I really like this, and you know what they need to do
Bring us more of it.
is make you can do that.
Bring us more.
Well, Sydney and I will talk among ourselves while you're gone. These guys need to make a peanut butter
Oh yeah, like
version of it. Oh,
If they don't have a peanut butter, then I would be very surprised.
OMG, would
Right.
that be good?
Yeah.
I will say.
There's a Drecker peanut butter up there that I almost brought back to open for us. Sorry
You
to
should.
interrupt.
No, you're fine. You're fine. You're the expert, not me.
Oh, no.
You're good.
There you.
But no, I will say, as a frequent stout drinker, sometimes some of them are like the ones that taste like very chocolatey like this. They're like too sweet, and you wouldn't have another. You'd have one. But this one, it's like the perfect amount of sweet where I would have like another one. It's not like got that like candy sweetness to it, like
100%.
that chocolatey like syrupiness to it.
It is a well
It's
balanced.
like a beer, yeah. It tastes
Right.
like a beer.
We were just talking about
It is a well
beer
balanced.
needs to taste like beer.
Yeah, not.
Something else.
Yeah.
Right.
It could be. Some of them are fine for like a dessert beer,
Yeah.
like just one. But that's like I could have 2 of those for sure,
Right.
or more.
Yeah. No. If you did 2, you'd be doing well for yourself.
Yes.
Even at this size. 4 ounces of this beer is enough to get your attention.
Great. Don't drink and drive, everyone.
That's correct.
Throw that out
Please
there.
don't do that.
And Never mind. I was going to say I had something else smart I was gonna say. I'm not going to say it because now we're in mixed company. If it was
Right.
just John and I would have said it.
You can say whatever you want around me. I am offended.
We're not
Don't
quite
be.
to the point of running you off yet.
Yeah, we want to get at least one
Well,
more
yeah.
episode out of it
You're just using me.
until we piss you off or embarrass you.
Right.
Anything else?
Dope.
Okay. So damn lucky. See you next time.
Yes, I definitely.